Hi everybody, Karen Rovey here with Chris Matizik of ZDNet. You know, Chris, we always have great conversations with you. Sometimes you find things to do articles on that are really kind of odd things, really things that tend to get people talking. And this one definitely did. We're talking about Bill Nye, of course, the science guy we all know, right? And I'm going to let you tell a little bit about what his strong feelings are towards Windows laptops and why he thinks a lot of people just aren't very smart for sticking with them. What is this all about?
Well, I can't attest to his personal strong feelings. I can attest to the fact he's probably taken quite a lot of money to do an ad for Google, basically telling people that Chromebooks are far better than Windows laptops. In fact, he goes on for about 3 minutes talking about, well, pseudoscience perhaps. And within this, he's explaining that Windows laptops are like his old sports car, which is held together by tape. They had good times together, and then he taps the hood and the car falls apart, which you can decide is slightly cliched or not. Whereas Chromebooks are just fantastic. You see in his eyes, Windows laptops, they're slow to start up. They freeze. There's all those updates and patches, and really they're a modern disgrace. And worse than that, he goes towards your human psychology. I'm not pointing specifically to you, Karen, necessarily, unless you own a Windows laptop, because he's saying the only reason why you haven't switched from a Windows laptop to a Chromebook is because you're a coward. You're scared. You're stuck. You simply don't have the courage. And so he's going on for these 3 minutes, desperately trying to get you to have the courage to get yourself a Chromebook, because that apparently is where it's at.
That is where it's at. And they've decided that Bill Nye is the guy to tell us this or sell us this idea, Chris.
Yes, well, you used to know him on television as the paragon of objectivity.
Right.
Now he's the paragon of Google's well-paid subjectivity. So, I guess we all do things for money occasionally, and one would hope for his sake that he got a lot of money for this. And you can decide what you think about whether Chromebooks are in fact better than Windows laptops. I know quite a few people who might disagree with just about every element of Nye's thesis.
Yeah, so he said people were cowards, frightened of change. I believe he said a couple of times, getting stuck in their Windows world and not wanting to move from there. So, because we like to get other people's opinions, especially those that work in some of the stores where these things are sold. Chris, I know you went to a Best Buy to just kind of poke around on this idea. What did you find?
Well, I like going to retail outlets to see what salespeople are going to say to me about gadgets in general, because generally I find the standard of service has kind of gone up in a strange way, where people are very happy, the salespeople, to talk to you, to tell you what they really think. So I went to a Best Buy and I saw they had a large display of Chromebooks. Now, I'd never sort of focused on Chromebooks that much in my life. And I looked at them and they were like perfectly ordinary laptops to me, but certainly nothing extraordinary visually. And then the Best Buy laptop expert came over and wanted to chat. So we chatted, and I asked him, I said, I saw an ad this week that said Chromebooks are just far better than Windows laptops. And he said to me, oh, the one with Bill Nye, right? And, that's half the job is done for an ad if people already are talking about it. So bravo, Google. And then I asked him in detail, I said, well, tell me about these laptops. So we first talked about Chromebooks priced around $399. And he was explaining that they're really good for homework and for the surfing Netflix and the web. And that was about it. And so I said, but $399, what about the equivalent Windows laptop? Do those freeze? Do those have terrible update problems, patches? He said, yeah, but they're still better.
Interesting. Well, when the Chromebooks are very popular with I have three kids in middle school or elementary, and they have the Chromebooks. They are definitely put to use there in the schools, and I think that's some of what people are thinking. And like you said, if you remember the ad, then Google, check that off. They've done what they were hoping to do. So do you think that this is going to sway people anyway, or someone that really truly may have thought about buying a Windows laptop once again are going to actually go to a Chromebook here?
Well, I asked the Best Buy salesman about that, and he showed me a laptop, a Chromebook that was $999, which is the same as a Surface Pro starting point. And I said, well, surely this thing must have some competitive element to it. And he said, no, not really. The only people who are interested in Chromebooks are people who, for whatever reason, love Google. I don't know how many people you know, Karen, who have passion for Google, but he said those were the only people who are actually interested in Chromebooks, because Chromebooks simply don't have the software, don't have the apps. You cannot be as productive. And in fact, when I asked him who would actually want a Chromebook, who would use one, he said someone in elementary school, which didn't seem quite flattering and didn't seem to be the impression Bill Nye was giving. In fact, telling what seemingly one imagines the target for this ad were adults, that they should start adulting, as a millennial would say, and get a Chromebook. Whereas here's the Best Buy salesman telling me, yeah, no, that's for kids in elementary school. He said the other element about Chromebooks is they don't last. He believes they're not very well made. So if you're going to buy anything, buy a Windows laptop, because it'll last longer, which for me was quite amusing, because not so long ago I went into another Best Buy and I asked what was the best Windows laptop, and that salesman told me it was a MacBook. And the reason he told me it was a MacBook was because they last longer than Windows laptops. If you look at that as the range of computers that last, then the Chromebook, according to Best Buy salespeople, really doesn't last very long.
Yes, and I've heard that on some occasions. Chris, you do a lot of this, whether it's going into, different smartphone stores or for Best Buy for different products. You do a lot of this, talking to a lot of different salespeople, and I'm sure you would say, I would venture to guess, that a lot of it just depends on who you ask, right? Some people are just in one camp or the other, and that's kind of what they're going to sway you towards. Do you find that?
I think that's true to some extent. I often ask the salespeople, what do they use personally? What this salesman told me, he said, look, here at Best Buy, we use Windows. He said, we'd never in a million years think about using a Chromebook. It simply wouldn't work for us. It wouldn't work for the software we use. It wouldn't work for the complicated things that we want to get involved in. And in addition, when you're using a Chromebook, he said, you're up in Google's cloud. So you're basically living even more in the embrace of those fabulously objective people at Google.
Well, I guess that's a nice warm place to be if that's where you're comfortable. Chris, this is also the Google we're talking about that a couple weeks ago wanted to pay one of your friends $5 for their face, right?
Oh, did pay. My friend actually allowed it. He sold his face for $5. I thought he was ripped off. I really do. 10 at least.
That's a whole nother conversation. All right, Chris, thank you so much. Good to talk to you as always. For more on Chris's article and Bill Nye's love there of the Chromebook, make sure you check out ZDNet.